All right. It is Black Sunday, a day that will live in infamy for anybody that cares or gives a damn about the sanctity and purity of college football. And certainly anybody that's a Florida State fan. Um, at this point, everybody's pretty much found out what has happened. Florida State got snubbed. We came in fifth in the final playoff ranking. Mathematically, not even sure how that happened. Had a 97% chance as of this morning to make it. Did not make it. Coming off of a huge win last night against Louisville with Brock Glenn at the helm. It was a rough one. And fortunately, we won the game. Outstanding defensive effort, 16-6. Didn't even give up a touchdown. Louisville had a top 20 offense. Didn't even score a touchdown. But the committee in college football lobbied and said they didn't like how the offense looked. Mind you, we had a third stringer in there, and they held it against us. We got left out of the playoff despite going 13-0, despite hoisting the trophy for the ACC championship. First time since 2014 that we've won the ACC. The comeback is now complete. Florida State is once again one of the top programs of college football, top 5 apparently. And so here we are. So, I mean, the wound is fresh. I'll say this for the purpose of trying to put together a show and a telecast that's palatable and that's somewhat professional. I'm fucking pissed. I've never been more angry in my adult life over anything sports related. It feels like a complete violation. Feels like your house was robbed. Feels like you were violated. And it's never going to go away. It's never going to be okay. It's never going to be justified. Florida State is a football power, a national football power, played for 7 national titles, won 3 Heismans, won I don't even know how many ACC titles, won I don't even know how many big games, beat the hell out of the SEC for 30, 40 years. To do that to Florida State is disgusting. The manner in which they did it to Florida State is disgusting. It's cowardice. The decision was between Texas and Alabama, and they were too cowardly to make that decision. So they screwed Florida State. It's going to live in infamy forever. It's disgusting. And, I don't generally wish bad on Paul and people, but for the rival fan bases, I hope one day you can feel this. I hope one day you can get a whiff of how this smells and how this feels, because it's truly disgusting and violating. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah. I mean, I think you've summed it up perfectly. I think the other thing is it's a sad day for college football. It's a sad day. It's the saddest day I've ever seen in college football. Not because the team I cover is not make the playoffs. It's because the team I cover got their spot stolen, and that's exactly what the committee did. You stole a spot from them because they did everything to earn that spot. You told them to schedule somebody non-conference that's out of their league that's really good. They did that. Check mark. By the way, 2 straight years they did that. Beat the same team. Beat the guy that's probably going to hoist the Heisman.
Beat him down.
Beat them down. Beat them worse than anybody's beat that team. Held Louisville to their lowest.
Worse than Alabama beat him.
Yeah, I mean,
right? He beat Bama last year. We beat his ass last year. He beat Bama. And then this year, we blew him out. He didn't throw a touchdown pass until 1 minute left in the fourth against our third string, held him scoreless. 45-17 is the real score. And he goes up there and challenges Bama. Bama hits him dirty, knocks him out of the game on a targeting, no call. I mean, 2 years in a row, we have a common opponent and we outperformed them, but we still get snubbed by that team.
Yeah, so you get that. You've done everything you're supposed to do. Adversity out your ass all year long. Had to play in the swamp with a backup quarterback. Then you had to play a third string quarterback who hasn't taken maybe 6 snaps all year. Your defense rises up, says, "Don't worry, Brock, we got you." Gets the job done. 16-6, 7 sacks, gets the job done. You feel like you're over the top. It's like you've done everything you're supposed to do. You're 13-0. Your message of how you measure up, strength of schedule and stuff is very similar to everyone else, of how you played against teams, who you beaten, how many teams you beaten, how many top bowl eligible teams you beaten. Everything is similar. And then you get there on Sunday, they're telling you you're going to get the pick, and then all of a sudden these guys pull the rug from underneath you. They cowardly avoid the Bama Texas situation, and they go in there and they put it on somebody that they've taken advantage for years. This isn't the first time they've screwed FSU over or other teams to get SEC teams in the picture or their favorite teams in the picture. It's ridiculous. It's cowardly. Those guys, I hope they're watching this. You guys are disgusting people. That what you did to what you did to this team today. Like, it isn't like, oh, this team earned. No, they didn't earn crap. Like, Florida State earned their way in, and you screwed them. Like, that's as simple as that. There's no other way you can explain it. Only Power Five team to ever win a conference championship, Power Five undefeated season, and you're the only one that they don't let in. Like, out of all these teams you put in that are sorry, like Cincinnati and all these teams every year, the one year FSU does it, you don't let them in. It's disgusting. It's terrible for college football in general, not just FSU. Yeah, it's a sad day for a lot of FSU fans, but they'll eventually, we'll move on and get ready for the season or whatever next game is. But you ruined college sports, for what you did. So, yeah, I hope they continue to get beat down like they are in the national media, because it needs to happen. They need to get eviscerated, because that's what needs to happen. Because either y'all going to change this, or you're just going to completely wipe college football off the map. So really, that's all I got to say about it. I think it's just a disgrace.
Mike, we saw your reaction on television when Alabama was placed into the number 4 spot. I was just wondering if you could tell us what was going through your mind in that moment when you put your head down, and then what you said to the team afterwards.
I was just hurt for our players. I mean, to be honest with you, that was, it's one of the tougher moments that I've had to experience, and just for all that they've done. You talk to a team about responding to adversity, getting up and going to give all that you can to be able to find a way to win a college football game. And like Coach Mark said, it is hard. I mean, it's hard to do. It's hard to especially when you face some of the adversities that we've had here this year, whether it's injury or just different things to overcome. But it's all part of it. And as we tell our team all the time, your truest identity shows up in times of great adversity, and we faced it, and they put it on display. So that was really that feeling in the moment.
That's Coach Norvell talking today. After this came down, they did an interview with Kirby Smart, also left out of the playoff. And I'll say this too about Georgia. Man, it's tough. Is Georgia one of the top 4 teams in the country? I mean, maybe, probably. I mean, they're really damn good. I know you and I had them in Michigan as the 2 best teams in the country pretty much all year when we've been breaking this down. They lose one time, happens to be at home, lose in a conference title game. The last time they did that, they backed into the playoff as a 3, ended up beating Michigan down. This year, they get left out mainly because Texas went into Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama. So they wanted to honor Texas, but they wanted to get an SEC team in. So they just screw Florida State and they bring both of them up. This is just, it's so unprecedented. This whole season's been unprecedented. The treatment of Michigan, Coach Harbaugh suspended him half the year for stuff the NCAA said he had nothing to do with, and they had no evidence on. I mean, that's one thing. They just finished it with a bang, though, today. I mean, what they've done, and in the way that they set the playoff up, I mean, the narratives that they were saying was, if you're Michigan, who would you rather play, Alabama or Florida State? And I'm just thinking to myself, and I'm like, what the hell kind of question is that? As a 1 seed, the goal shouldn't be find the toughest matchup, but that's what they look to be doing, right?
Yep.
And so, but when you go around the water cooler with it, it doesn't check out. I listened to Joey Galloway today say that it'll be interesting to see who plays in the Florida State-Georgia matchup, but it's a really intriguing matchup, and it should be very even and a very exciting matchup. So it's an exciting matchup if we go play Georgia with our backup quarterback, right, who was everybody's number 1 for the last 3 weeks. That's an exciting, great matchup, according to Joey Galloway and ESPN Talking Heads. But we can't compete with the other 3 teams that Georgia was ranked ahead of until this time yesterday.
Yeah.
It's complete, utter bullshit. It doesn't check out. You guys make it up as you go along. You wanted to get an SEC team in there because you were embarrassed that you put this much money behind a conference that wasn't good enough to get into the playoff off of merit this year. And they weren't. They were not good enough. Alabama almost lost to USF. Alabama got beat by 2 scores to Texas, and they were down 2 scores the whole damn game. They just got completely outclassed at home. Alabama almost lost to Arkansas at home, won by a field goal. They damn near lost to Ole Miss at home as well. They struggled all game there. And they should have lost to Auburn, a 6-loss team. Arkansas, an 8-loss team. Auburn had them 4th and 31, last play of the game, and they throw a Hail Mary and they win. This is the Alabama team that they put in over an undefeated Florida State team that didn't need any last-minute heroics. Just won. Closest call was an overtime at Clemson. Nobody's beat Clemson in Clemson since 2016. It's hard. If you think it's not, go schedule them. Go play Dabble in Death Valley. You will lose, I promise you. SEC, anybody. Anybody wants to go down there and play Dabble Sweeney in Death Valley, you'll lose. We're the only team since 2016 to go down there and beat them, right? We didn't have all these struggles. We didn't need late game Hail Marys and all this crap, you know. Alabama did, and they still got honored. Alabama was sitting at number 8. We were sitting at 4. They jumped them all the way from 8, put them at 4, bumped us to 5. Unprecedented, disgusting. Their metric doesn't check out. This team was going to get Tate Rodemaker back, have a month to prep them. Tate Rodemaker, frankly, does some things in the downfield passing game better than Jordan Travis. We've talked about this. We've got NFL wide receivers on the team. The offense would have been able to be fine. The defense is world class. Everyone talks about the defense, right? But I guess, you know, the only thing that matters now is the Jordan Travis injury that's 2-3 weeks old that we weren't even penalized with before because you had us at 4.
Yep. But
it was all a smoke screen. And it was just at the last minute pull the rug from underneath them. A 97% chance to make the playoff this morning as of 10 o'clock, 10:30 this morning. And something in the last hour and a half changed drastically. And they drug Bama in there and they screw Florida State. That's where we're at. It's disgusting. I feel sick. I feel pissed off. I feel angry. Everything that was sanctified and pure about college football is now gone. It's big money bullshit. It's whatever they think they can get the most money out of, which is a joke, because if you think Florida State's not a draw, you're drunk. You might need a history lesson and read a resume. Florida State packs the house wherever they go. They pack ratings, whatever channel they're on, more so than anybody else in the country, for that matter, maybe not Notre Dame or Michigan. So I'm embarrassed for college football. I feel so badly for Florida State. I mean, this is only the 3rd undefeated team we've ever had. 4th if you count the 2014 team that went into the playoff and eventually got beat by Oregon. It's so hard to go undefeated, especially when you play LSU, who's top 5. First game of the year at a neutral site. We do that 2 years in a row. This year they're ranked top 5. We still beat them. Go to Boston College the next week in the Red Bandana game, who's a bowl team, by the way. FSU beat 8 bowl teams. So 8 of the 13 teams we played are going to bowl games. 8 of them. Second game of the year, we go beat Boston College in Boston, Red Bandana game. For those who don't know, look it up. It's a big deal for them. It's their Super Bowl. And then we have a game, Southern Miss. Then we go on the road to Death Valley. They gave us about a 0% chance of going through September unscathed. And then when we did, they moved the goalpost. Then we went through a stretch where we played a pretty decent Virginia Tech team that contended in the ACC all year. Syracuse, they're muscle mano, they're okay. But a Duke team that was a 1-loss team only had 1 loss to Notre Dame at the time, which was at the end of the game. Notre Dame team, they said, was all great. That's the team that they said Ohio State got the ranking based off beating them, barely, right? And Duke loses to that team by a touchdown. They come into Tallahassee, we wear them down, we end up beating them by 3 scores. And they were ranked, 16, 18 at the time? We went through the whole season. The goalposts kept moving and moving and moving and moving. And then finally, Jordan Travis gets hurt. And then that's the new benchmark now. Well, we can't have FSU because Jordan Travis is hurt. So Tate comes in the North Alabama game, throws for almost 300 yards. Offense looks much better when he comes in. And then we send him in there to the swamp, which is a place that Georgia can't even find on a map because they never go there. Alabama, you go there every 10 years. We go there every other year because that's just what Florida State does. We go down there, we win by 2 scores. We're a 6-point favorite. We win by 9 points with a backup. 2 Gators, dirty hits, smoke our quarterback and concuss him. Okay. He's able to finish the game, but then symptoms come back. So now here we are, ACC championship game, 12-0, trying to win ACC title game. We got to play a 3rd stringer in Brock Glenn. True freshman, not redshirt, true freshman. We have to redesign the offense, do everything. Defense basically has to pitch shutout ball. And I don't know a team in the country could play their 3rd string and win anything, let alone go beat a number 14 team in the country, a top 20 offense, and a championship game. Florida State Seminoles go out there and do that, pitch damn near shutout ball defensively. Offense does just enough. And frankly, it's not a shot at Michigan, but let's talk about it. Florida State had more offense against Louisville with Brock Glenn than J.J. McCarthy and Michigan had against Iowa last night. That's a fact. Look it up. But only Florida State gets punished. It doesn't make any sense. Noles go out there, win 16-6, but the goalpost just continues to move because the committee didn't want Florida State in there. And I'll tell you what I honestly think about this whole thing is they're afraid that a non-SEC team is going to win the national championship and is going to bury all their bullshit narratives that they've been pumping for years. And I think that team they're really afraid of winning is Michigan because they don't think Florida State could have beat Michigan. Well, they might want to look at the history books because I don't remember last time Michigan beat Florida State. But they really wanted to avoid Florida State coming in at 4 because they felt like that would have been a cakewalk for Michigan. And they want to make it as hard on Michigan as possible because they don't want Michigan to get bigger than the SEC. And if Michigan wins the national championship, that's what they think is going to happen. So we get to be the scapegoats. We get to be the sacrificial lambs that get screwed because they want to try to make it as hard as possible for Michigan. They want to give Michigan Texas as the 4 in the Rose Bowl. And then if they win, they fed Washington to Texas. Texas gets a 3 seed coming out of the soft-ass Big 12 with a loss. Having played a bunch of close games, they get the 3 seed. Florida State's not even in it. Texas has a loss, played a soft-ass schedule against a bunch of Big 12 teams don't even know how to spell defense, have a bunch of close calls, and they get the 3. And they're in New Orleans, 3 hours from Austin or from Houston, right? So they just feed Washington to them. So basically they're setting up Texas and what they think will be Texas and Bama. That's what they think they're doing. And it's disgusting. The Noles were the sacrificial lamb. They haven't read the resume. They don't know what Florida State's about. And that's a rant. It's a long one. I'm disgusted. I've never been more pissed off, angry, or disconcerted with college football. It's ruined for me. I'll be honest with you. College football is now business. There's no purity. There's no sanctity in it. It's all bullshit. It's a money grab. It's an SEC love fest where they will stuff SEC down your throat no matter what, even when they don't have the merit. That Alabama team is not there off of merit. They did not deserve to be there. They were ranked number 8 for a reason because they almost lost several times this year, including a week ago in Auburn. They had a miracle to win that game, and they get rewarded because they beat an overrated Georgia team that had guys banged up.
Yeah, and they just had to get hot. They got hot 3 or 4 games, and then they were and then they basically had to win 1 game. You didn't penalize them. Nobody talked about the Auburn game, even though they should have lost on any other team. Any other team, they'd be talking about it if you weren't from the SEC. But they've been doing this for years, and it's just what the business is. And it's good to see that people are calling it out today. It doesn't make it feel any better because FSU got completely screwed, and it's sickening the way college sports is. But everything you said was on point. It's disgusting, and I don't know if it's repairable.
No, I don't think it is. And we'll go roll to the actual game film here. And that is who will touch the ball first tonight. And only just shutting things down. Look at that backfield. Look at Fiske right here.
And that was a constant thing. They were winning the line of scrimmage like almost every play. And they knew. You could tell going into this game, Mike Norvell really leaned on them. This game's like, look, we need you guys. So you got to play another level and just take over the game. And boy, did they.
I mean, someone's going to tell me that we're supposed to be afraid of the SEC? The SEC don't have an offensive line to stop that. I'll tell you right now. I mean, it's just ridiculous. This defense has been balling all year. We're getting Darrell Jackson back. He'd be a starter on this defense. The NCAA wouldn't give him his waiver. I mean, so now you're going to see more Fiske and Verse bookend. Just ridiculous. Rally to the ball. Look at Fiske again. This is the same opening series. This kid's playing with his hair on fire.
Yep.
Here's where it gets ugly. True freshman's going to take sacks like that because he doesn't have the natural clock in his head.
Yep. It was very, very ugly the first 4 possessions. Really ugly. They tried to do different things. Finally, they found something that worked late in that second quarter, but it took them a while to kind of feel out what Louisville was doing. Louisville got a nice little run here, get the midfield,
Nice
but
run.
the defense overall just answered the bell like no defensive performance I've seen from FSU that I can recall in a long time like this.
Farmer gets gummed up there on that play. Lost a little bit of gap integrity. That was one of the few big runs for Louisville. Now 3rd and 7, dropping back. Look at Jared Verse. Pressure all day. I mean, Louisville was supposed to be good on the offensive line, Mike. They had a top 20 offense. They've been scoring on everybody. And they could not block the Noles all night.
Yeah, I mean, when you have to block these guys one-on-one, it's a little bit different. You scheme them. We've seen it during the season. They'll get pressure, but they won't finish it. With these plays, we're seeing finishing. And they just kept dominating them in the trenches. And obviously the offense kept struggling, but right there, you got to throw the ball away, dude. Like, you can't take a 3-yard loss as a quarterback, freshman or not. You gotta throw the ball away.
Right there, Keon. It's got to go to Keon right there for a 6-7 yard gain. It's just he's just in over his head, Mike. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it was one point they were averaging like 2 yards per series. Like in probably the first 4. I would say the first 4 drives for FSU was probably like.
Look at this penetration. I mean,
well,
Mike, I've heard some things. I've heard some things today talking about the SEC, and you don't want to see. Are you kidding me? You watch this defense play, and if you think there's any difference between them and a top SEC defense, you're drunk. It's the same kids. They came from the same place. Here's a 4th and 1. Play action. Batted down.
That was 4th down.
I mean, Deloach is going to play on Sundays. Fisk is going to play on Sundays. Verse is going to play on Sundays. Dent is going to play on Sundays. We've got a bunch of guys going to play on Sundays here, and they really brought it. They really brought it on this day.
Yeah, even that play was really good because, I mean, you got to get through a lot of blocks just to get to that play, and did a good job honing down on it. And just it's actually one of the better plays for Brock in the first quarter or first half. Got a nice little 8-yard gain. This is what he brings. We didn't see as much of that as we wanted to, and then you finally get your first down. I think that was like the first one they actually executed. They got a pass interference or a first down. It's a nice play there. Yep, they got
another shot. There you go, 3.
Yep,
another shot at a quarterback. Every week we got guys taking shots at our quarterback.
And then Brock's calling for the snap and not ready, and that's what you get with freshmen. Center thinks you're calling for a snap, and you're actually calling for a snap. You're telling them, it's like freshman. So here we are. FSU gets on the board first. Fitzmagic nails it right down the middle. And so even with all the struggles, you're still feeling good because you're getting points. The defense is controlling the line of scrimmage. Everything's looking really good. Pretty good coverage there on the kickoff.
Yeah, not bad. Now we're settling in here. We're definitely deep into the second quarter, getting there. Another tackle for loss. I mean, it was just all night the Noles in the backfield.
Yeah, they were winning. They were winning one-on-ones all game. I mean, it wasn't just one guy either. It was like, 3 or 4. Like you see right there, even if they hand it to the running back, he was going to get swallowed. Verse was all over it. And then the exotic blitzes they were calling. They did catch him right here on this one a little bit.
One of the few plays we gave up.
Yeah, they didn't give up a lot. I mean, it was probably like maybe 3 explosive plays for Louisville. And outside of that, they were literally getting nothing. They were just throwing deep balls down the sidelines and hoping for the best. The rest of these were just FSU controlling everything. That was probably Jordan's best carry of the game.
There's Trey. Getting
Started
a
getting
little bit of action right there.
Yep, started getting a little running game going. It started to. They saw some stuff when they pulled guys that really
Nice first.
started opening up the running game a little bit more. Give Rico credit. He called this like I would run the ball a lot. This is actually a good play, but he didn't do that enough in my eyes of pulling the ball. There's several plays if you watch. If he pulls it, he probably gets a touchdown or he gets a big gain. Good pass to Johnny.
Nice grab, Johnny.
Yep.
One of the few. I think he only completed 8 on the day, Mike, but that's got to be the best one.
That was the best one of the night. Ball placement, he put it to the outside. Guys hand fighting, and Johnny gets the catch. But yeah, that was one of Brock's best throws.
Wiggle in there. Yeah, it just felt like we just couldn't gash them enough. Credit to Louisville. They came in as one of the better fronts on our schedule for sure.
See, that's the one I'm talking about right there, Rico. If he keeps that, he's got like 20 yards down the sideline. Maybe he scores. It just you got to see it. But when you don't do it much, it's hard to consistently execute like that.
At this point, Plummer's 3 of 13 passing. Here is another. That's a huge hold right there. And Burst still got the sack.
Yep.
Huge hold, not called. Still get there. Fiske. I mean, my goodness. This tape alone is going to jump him a draft grade.
Yeah, this was a time where I felt like, okay, they can get a 10-0 lead. Like you really felt like that was likely to happen. But
and at this juncture, that was the score in the Michigan-Iowa game, 10-0.
Especially this play, it's a good little play to Trey. Got a first down. You're down to the 24, 23. You're feeling good, like, hey, you're at least going to get a field goal and maybe a touchdown, and then maybe an inch away from breaking it there for Trey. So you really felt like, hey, you should get a touchdown here. And then I think Mike got a little bit greedy and tried to throw instead of run. And then he got sacked, and that just kind of ruined the whole series. And then
needed to run the ball there because with points being a premium, you've got to protect the field goal there because 6-0 with the way our defense is playing is a lot better than 3-0. And we had a close field goal. We're getting our quarterback exposed to contact. We end up missing the field goal.
Right.
They get the ball back, and now we've got to try to stop them from getting points at the end. Look at a good rally up. That's what I'm talking about. Great hit right there by Fentrell.
That was actually I think that was Azari.
Oh, that was Azari. You're right. Great hit by Azari. Almost jump on it again. At this point here, the defense is playing so well. It's almost like it's inspiring. Like you got to feel like the offense at this point is like, guys, we got to pick it up. The defense is carrying the mail.
Yeah, me and Rico were like, I'm like, Rico, they're playing out of their mind, and they're just, they would not give them an inch. Hit a few explosive plays later in the game, but whatever that they needed something, the defense rose up.
Here we go. Is our first series out of the half. There's crazy.
I actually like that play Brock did.
That's the second time he's done that. He did that in the North Alabama game too. He did this wild 15-yard pitch thing. He likes this, so we may see some more of this next year. End up not going anywhere. We punt. Now here. Look at this pursuit right here. Jared Verse and Fiske in this game were unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, Peyton was incredible too. They were all the front guys all did a great job. Fabian Levy did a great job. They were just all over.
False start they missed there. Got a first down off it. That's a false start.
Yeah, you can see the guys.
I want to go back and look at that.
You can see the guy's pause when he ran it. Oh yeah, guy moved like a half a second early.
Oh my goodness! Right here.
Yep.
That's a false start, ladies and gentlemen.
That's called getting a head start.
Yeah, it's a false start. They get a first down off it, of course. And now we start running crazy stuff.
Run a trick play. Actually, FSU actually did a good job of not letting this get farther than it was. He actually stepped out of bounds, and that play's coming back because it was a hold. So there was like 3 different holds on that play. So
Yeah.
I don't know why
Kevin Coleman, former 5-star from St. Louis. I know you covered him. He's a hell of a player.
he is. He's electric, and that was the guy I was most worried about. But
Oh, blocks in the back. We got all kind of stuff going on here.
oh yeah, it was holds, blocks in the back. You pick
Yeah,
something.
that's a block in the back and a hold. It comes back, so
Yeah.
it doesn't hurt us.
I don't know why they were showing that, but okay. I guess Louisville
On
didn't
the
have that many
screen.
plays. That's good tackle. Good
Yeah, that was
tackle.
set up nice. They had hat on a hat out there outside, and we fought through that pretty nice. That's a good scramble by Plummer. Man, we really had Plummer rattled. He finished the game 14 of 36 with a pick and no scores.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, everything he got, like he earned because he did not. They did not make him comfortable at all. I mean, he was having to make some really tough plays. This is probably like the only drive where they actually went down the field on FSU. They end up great play on 3rd down here. Stuffed.
Ooh, good
Thanks
stiff.
Thanks for coming. They decided they kind of
again.
They felt they were like, "What do your thing, Rico? Take the points," because they haven't been down here a lot, so they figured they better get some points. He barely snuck this one in, by the way.
Yeah, 15 of 22. Oh, he barely knocks it through.
Yep.
3-3 ball game at this point, and it's just tight.
Yeah,
it's just tight.
It's just nerves, and this is the play of the game. Opened it up.
Here it is.
One guy got his heel, or I think he would have just momentum would have carried him in the end zone.
Yeah, great play there. This is Coach Norvell just really going into his bag offensively because
he had to.
With Glenn in there was just nothing going. And so they go to the Wildcat. Line blocks it up. Toafili's explosive. And huge play here. We go back to it on 1st and goal.
Same play. Shift one way, like you're going the other way, and then carry the rest. They did what they did with Louisville, and you see it later. You'll see it later in the game with some Trey Benson runs. They got him. Did a lot of pulls where they got Louisville's D line reacting one way and then going the other. They had to do something to shift it up, and at the very least, they wanted the defensive lineman to freeze.
Oh, we fell down on the outside.
Yeah,
Azariah fell down there.
Lost his balance. But they did a phenomenal job on a good receiving corp of Louisville. They did not do much at all.
Oh, great job right there, because that was going to be out the gate there. Great job by Turner on the draw. Getting a hand on him, slowing him down. That could have been a big play. Mind you, it's 10-3 here, and we're just if we could just keep him out of the end zone, feel like we're going. Here's Deloach. Messing up the timing of that. Almost got him down.
Just barely missed a sack there.
They end up punting. Here we go, coming back. And at this point now, it's just kind of like run the ball. We cannot have a big mistake from Brock Glenn here.
Yeah.
End up punting. A whole lot of that.
This is like their big run. Good job by Fintrell. Making the most as that Cameron guy gets nailed.
Crushed him. Went on the wrong side. Fiske shifted, went on the wrong side. He guessed wrong.
Yep.
The one of the few plays that he didn't make. He guessed inside A, should have went B.
Yep. Ended up bowing up again like they have all game defensively. This looks like going to be a big gain. He only gets like 4 maybe. And then they bow up like they have all game long. They just do not allow much. I think he gets a first down here, but then FSU gets probably the defensive play of the game coming up right here.
Oh, big stick. Great job. When you can stop the 1st and goal play for next to nothing, you set up 2nd and long for goal to go. Here they go. Just, I don't know what they're doing here. Look at you, Fiske. Look at you. Unbelievable job. Motor is just incredible.
Yep.
This kid, this is the best performance on a defensive lineman
Mhm.
I've seen all year.
Yeah, he was phenomenal.
This is a big human too. I mean, this is a 280-pound kid, 270-pound kid. I mean, he's going to be a strong side end in the league, and he sneaks another one inside the right hash. This guy was real shaky as a kicker.
Sneaking
So
him
here we
in.
go, 3rd and 8, just
Way
taking
too long.
forever.
I never like when quarterbacks are patting their feet like 2 times. It should be a 1-1 bang bang go. You know, see, watch pat. Oh, you can't.
He had the crosser. He had to anticipate the crosser to Keon and kind of throw him open. He didn't, and then this is disastrous. Good job on Mastrano just holding it.
Yep, don't punt
because
it.
if he would have kicked it, that could have been 6.
Yep,
He
don't
just
punt
ate
it.
it.
And it turns out that was the play of the game because of what happens in a few plays later. It was a masterful play because if he punted it and he gets blocked, you get 2 points and I think that would have been blocked no matter what the snap was like. So something happened on the snap. I don't know if the guys weren't ready when they snapped it or something because nobody seemed to block anybody.
Yep, here's 3rd and 9.
This is it.
Try to go across the middle. Give me that. Tatum Bethune, huge play in the end zone. And it was at this point here, Mike, where it kind of felt up to this point like we were hanging on. It was at this point here was like, okay, we're going to do this.
Yep.
This is going to go down as all-time defensive performance.
Yeah, and you kind of sensed it on the next drive too. You sense like you have a play like that, it usually engages, gets your offense generized, gets a little excitement, and they did. They got some excitement, got some big plays, and it just felt like FSU was 3 points away from this being over. And I know it sounds crazy. That's only a 7-point lead, but it felt like if this team gets a 7-point lead, this game's over. Good run by Toafili here.
Toafili
barely missed breaking that.
What a run! He was by far the best back on this day.
Yeah, he was phenomenal. He was running like a demon. Here he is again. He was just everywhere.
Yeah, it's 2 phenomenal runs back and forth. Now, mind you, we're having a lot of trouble moving the ball, but the line, Coach Alex Atkins said something to these guys at halftime because they came out, particularly in this late 3rd, early 4th, really running the ball.
Yeah, what they did is they started shifting the way where they were running. If you watch a lot of the alignments, they have Toafili come back in for the running play. This is nearly a safety.
Almost a safety. Who is that?
I think that was Verse again. Nope, it was Lovett. It was Lovett. And this.
Great job, DBs. Great job, DBs. That's phenomenal. You got to bully up the blocker and just squeeze it down. So we get great field position here, and here's where it needs to happen. Good job, Trey, running tough. Get the first down. Hang on to the football. That's great, tough running. Great, tough running. Being able to stagger the backs, Toafili and Benson. And this is where the Noles really felt like they could put them away here. This run right here, it really felt like a score here, and this game was over.
Yeah. You wanted a touchdown, but you knew like you get a field goal. I felt really good about their chances. They got a field goal because I just didn't feel like.
Look at that, 63. Great job. Great block. Keon getting downfield on the block. Great job. Credit to Louisville. Louisville had their safeties in the right spots. We end up settling for a field goal here. Looked like a offsides there. We didn't get the call. Fitzy knocks it through. 13-6. So now it's 2 minutes to go. Now it's time.
Take
4th
overtime.
down. Look at Fiske. Tell him what time it is, Fiske. Tell him what time it is.
Yep. He was. They had no answer for him.
Stunt. Executed so well. His motor's awesome. I mean, Fiske really put some film out there that's going to make him some money.
Yeah, there's a reason. There's a reason him and Mike race every day before practice, and he wins some of them, so he can go. And this is
so at this point, Louisville, Mike, here they had 3 timeouts. They called 3rd. We're just trying to protect here. We don't want to put the freshman in a position, and it's crazy. The committee ends up looking at this and killing us for it. But we end up getting a field goal here. Sneak it in. It's good. Fitzmagic comes through, 16-6. We're looking good. 2 minutes to go.
Finishing time.
Yeah, we've got one series to go.
Look at
Look
that.
at Verse.
Did the same thing he did against the Florida guy. Just drives them right to the. Watch this, guys. Boom, boom. And this is just
Underneath.
a catch. Gets a few
Got a
yards.
lot, got a lot of yards back. Set up third down. Here's fourth down, and here's that guy again. Look at this motor.
Come here and show him he showed him what was up. Fist said, I'm getting a ring.
Now notice how unexcited the announcers are.
Oh, yeah.
What will this Florida State defense do to Brock Glenn? Only had 8 completions, only passed for 55 yards, but he was able to lean on Toafili and Benson.
I'll give them credit. They were a lot better than most. But yeah, you hear it every week when they play. It's kind of like the announcers are sad from ESPN when they win.
Yeah, I'm going to bring this screen up here so we can go over some of the stats. If I can get it pulled up. Where are we at? Yep. There we go. Okay, so Florida State's defense held the number 20 offense in the country. Jack Plummer was having a fantastic year. 14-36, no touchdowns, a pick. Plummer had negative 32 yards rushing, just sacks out the wazoo. And receiving-wise, Jamari Thrash been outstanding all year, held him to 57 yards, did have 7 catches. Just an unbelievable defensive performance. If we're looking at what we did defensive with the numbers, I mean, the sacks are just crazy. Fisk had 3, Peyton had 1, Verse had 2, Lovett had 1. I mean, it's just unbelievable pursuit.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
a great team win. I know the college football playoffs don't know what that's about, but it was actually a really good team win. Leaned on their defense, and they knew they had to. You had a freshman quarterback on the other side, so you had to protect him, and they did a really good job mixing things in with Brock. They ran the offense the way they wanted to, where they gave Brock a couple of explosive potential plays. What you didn't see in there is a few drops by Keon that were crucial. And you could have saw a lot more offense tonight. But overall, I think FSU accomplished what they want, which was give Brock a few explosive plays and then really just lean on that running game like they have all year late in games.
You look at the rushing yards, ran for 164 yards on a very good Louisville front. Look at this right here. No turnovers. Played the third string guy, no turnovers. Did have a botched snap. We jumped on it.
Yeah.
Only 3 penalties. So you go in a championship game with a third string quarterback. You commit 3 penalties the whole game, no turnovers, still run for $164. Yeah, passing yards were terrible. It's a third string true freshman. I don't know what all could be expected. We outgain them, we outpossess them, we out first down them, we win the turnover margin, we under penalize them.
It was a very clean game. They did a great job of what things they had to work with. It was a phenomenal game plan as far as what they did. I was telling people during the game, you have to be very protective toward this game plan, and they did just enough to give Brock chances to do it. And then the defense just had the most dominating defensive performance I've seen at an FSU team I can't ever remember.
Yeah, that defensive performance there was pretty special. So ACC championship is in the bag. Coach Norvell gets it done. This team is going to go out with at least the ACC crown, 13-0. And as we talk about kind of what comes next, we get back into how we started the show with the Black Sunday. This team got snubbed out of a deserved playoff spot. I mean, if you put Tate Rodemaker in this offense, and based upon what Tate has done One, played in the toughest place to play in the country, in the swamp.
Yep.
Did admirable, threw for over 100 yards, had some great throws down the seam, led scoring drives, didn't turn the ball over. Obviously, North Alabama's not good, and he tore them up, and he was efficient in all his mop-up duty throughout the season. But if you put Tate Rodemaker on this team with this defense, with this rushing attack, they are a top 4 team.
They are.
They're top 4. They're a top 4 team.
Yeah, we've seen Tate do that, and we said, unfortunately, it just seems like always something that they're dealing with every week. If that hit doesn't happen, we said, like, you can't really evaluate Tate from that Florida game. You're asking a kid that hasn't started all year to go into the swamp and just play masterfully, but once he played that game, you're like, okay, he's got the ACC championship. Louisville struggles on the back end. You can hit some plays, and then sure enough, something happens with concussion symptoms later in the week, and it was always something. And really, it just turns out that really just hurt them. Putting up a great offensive showing, but overall, yeah, Tate's you get Tate out there. When he's comfortable and they let him rip, he can certainly attack a lot of teams vertically, especially with the passing game.
Yeah, I would be very interested to see what the committee actually said and what their analysis was of Florida State. I don't feel like there was at all a clean shot given. I mean, if we break down and we look at the schedule, see if we can pull this up here. And we got into a lot of discussions about this earlier in the year, and I was pretty adamant about not being too pleased about having to play the LSU game because I knew that we wouldn't get any juice out of it. Play LSU 45-17. That 24 came with the 3s in, so I don't even give LSU that credit.
Yep.
They were number 5. We start this season with a top 5 team and blow them out at a neutral. Should have been top 3 at that point. Come out there, then go 66-13 over Southern Miss, whatever, Southern Miss. This is the one they pointed to. If you watch this game, the Noles were up 31-13 and all hell broke loose. Boston College scored a couple times and they tightened it up. We figured out a way to finish it off. Then we go at Clemson the next week. First team to beat Clemson in Clemson. First ACC team to beat Clemson in Clemson since what, 2016?
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. Clemson just doesn't lose there. They've won 2 national titles recently, played for 3. But for whatever reason, the Noles get no respect for this win at Clemson. It's just crazy. Then they go out there and they beat down Virginia Tech. That's a Virginia Tech team that competed well in the ACC all year. Completely dismantle and blow out Syracuse. Syracuse isn't that good, but they're still a bowl team, 6-6. We've got the schedules right here. Okay. Then they go out there and they beat a Duke team, which at that time was ranked top 16, had 1 loss, as we talked about earlier. They go out there and dominate them in the fourth quarter, win by 18 points, 3 scores, covered the spread. Then they go on the road. They smash Wake Forest, as they should. They go on the road with Pitt, had a ton of injuries that game, missing 3 receivers, missing Johnny, missing Keon, and missing Hakeem Williams. They go out there and still win 24-7. Jordan threw for like 350. Then they come in here at the Miami game. Was a tough game, had a chance to go up 3 scores there, didn't do it. Miami throws a crazy touchdown pass in between 2 guys. They tighten it up. Florida State bows up and finishes off the rivalry game. And then you go to the North Alabama game. Slow start, bad start, ugly start, sloppy start, inexcusable start, whatever you want to say. The seniors are playing because it's senior day, 3rd series. Jordan snaps his leg. And then it's like, there it is. There's what college football needed to screw the Noles, right? So this became the big story. Tate comes in there, plays well. We get out of that game 58-13, actually scored 58 straight points with Tate in the game. And we come out here and we're a 6-point favorite at Florida. We win by 2 scores with Tate. Tate plays a clean game. Then we come out here. Tate's concussed because the Florida Gators are dirty and hit him late. 2 guys smoked him the last drive of the game. And they concussed him, bounced his head off. He had symptoms that came up later in the week. So we held him out. Could have played him. Held him out, tried to do the right thing. Could have played him, held him out, went with our 3rd string in a championship game. You don't get any flowers for doing the right thing anymore in today's world, though. Go out there with a third string. You just saw the breakdown, 16-6. We were a 1-point dog. We beat that spread by 11 points, beat Louisville by 2 scores. Louisville was top 10 until last week when they lost a rivalry game by touchdown. So they conveniently leave that out. This was a top 10 Louisville team until last Saturday when they got upset by Kentucky. And that's our season. And, that's not good enough for the committee. The committee decided that 13-0 conference champion was going to get left out. And who are they going to get left out for? Well, let's take a look at them. Let's see who we got left out for. Here's the Texas Longhorns, 37-10 over Rice, the big one, 34-24 on the road over Bama. Great win, phenomenal win. 31-10 over Wyoming, 38-6. You're looking at this, you're like, okay, this Longhorn team is really good. 40-14 over a then-ranked Kansas at home. They're looking good. Then they lose. They lose to Oklahoma. Oklahoma ended up being a 3-loss team. Then we got at Houston, a 7-point win at Houston. BYU, they smacked BYU. Then we're at home against Kansas State. We win by 3 in overtime. Then we go on the road to TCU. We win by 3 at TCU. TCU is terrible, okay? Then we go at Iowa State. They win a close one, 26-16. They look good against Tech, and they look good against Oklahoma State. But what was the score of the Oklahoma State-UCF game, Mike?
45-3 UCF.
Yeah. So that's your championship. Your championship team, ranked 18, lost 45-3 to UCF. Yep. But that was deemed. That's the number 3 team in the playoff right here. This is their schedule with a loss, and they've got a loss plus 1, 2, 3 one-score games.
Yep, and essentially beat one good team.
Yep. I mean, who are their quality wins? Bama, that's a great win. There's no sugarcoating.
Yeah,
great
Bama,
win.
strong win, but outside that, there wasn't any others that were really that great.
So Kansas State, Oklahoma State, I guess.
Kansas, I guess they were good. They were ranked at one point, but
lost to Oklahoma.
But a lot of these teams were just recycled through the year. Eventually, they weren't ranked, so they weren't really standalone teams of matchups. And so, really, all they beat was Alabama, and it was a great win. They won by 11.
Now let's look at this Alabama. This is where it gets really interesting here. Yeah. Okay, so Middle Tennessee doesn't count. They lose by 2 scores to Texas at home. That's a problem. That South Florida game was 10-3 deep in the 4th. They get a touchdown late, going through all kinds of – look, they were playing the Ty Simpson kid. They had quarterbacks. They didn't know what they were doing.
Yep.
They beat Ole Miss. That was a tight game. That was a 17-10 game until they finally got a score late. So, okay, we'll give you credit for that because Ole Miss is pretty solid. They go on the road. They beat Mississippi State, look good. At A&M, A&M actually had the ball, had a chance to win that game, didn't get it done. That's a 1-score victory there. Then they beat Arkansas by 3 at home.
That's not a good Arkansas team either.
So, I mean, if we're looking at this, we've already got a loss. This South Florida game was a terrible performance. And then we get back-to-back 1-score victories here that were both tight. Both could have been losses. Mm-hmm. They get a win against Tennessee. The LSU game was back and forth. They targeted Jaden Daniels, knocked him out of the game on a targeting call that wasn't called, and they end up winning that game by 2 scores. Again, Jaden Daniels knocked out of the game on a targeting call that wasn't called. They get out of there with that one. Now they start rolling. They spank Kentucky, spank Chattanooga, and then we have Auburn. And this was absolutely 100% unequivocally a loss. It was 4th and 31. They had a prayer. Auburn rushes 3. Milroe tosses a ball to the back of the end zone. It finds Isaiah Bond. He gets a foot down. They win a game they had no business winning. Auburn muffed a punt for them to even get down there to begin with. This is just a loss. It's a terrible performance. This is a 6-loss Auburn team. This is an 8-loss Arkansas team. This is a 4 or 5-loss A&M team. All these 1-score games, if I'm looking at them, 1-score games, 1, 2, 3, plus a loss. Georgia, that's an excellent game. You're not going to knock them for beating Georgia in Atlanta. Although Bowers and McConkey are banged up. I guess injuries only matter if it's Jordan Travis, so we can't say that. You got to give them their credit. They beat Georgia, right? All these 1-score games plus just a shit performance against South Florida. But this was deemed to be good enough to oust Florida State. They said that Florida State essentially would not be able to compete with this Bama team. That's just funny to me because how come A&M competed with them? How come South Florida competed with them? How come Arkansas competed with them? All these teams competed with Bama. The only teams that Bama actually blew out were Mississippi State, Kentucky, we're not even going to count Chattanooga, Middle Tennessee State. They were in dogfights with Ole Miss, dogfights with A&M, dogfights with Arkansas. They were in a dogfight with Tennessee. They got up 2 scores, but that was a 1-score game for most of it. I mean, it's just baffling what they said. The notion that they think FSU couldn't compete with Bama, and you look at Bama's schedule, it's a complete bullshit narrative.
Yeah, and you can't use it like, oh, well, they got hot after that USF game. You can't say that because, 1, the Arkansas game happened, and then 2, late in the year, the Auburn game happened. Like, so, no, they were what they were. But they just gave them every bit of praise what they were going to do. Like I said, there's passes for some people and there's passes for not. You're not in the exclusive club, you don't get passes. You don't get benefits. You don't get the benefit of struggling. Like Florida State, they get evaluated every week. I remember when FSU played Boston College, they talked about it the whole week. Bama struggles, it's whatever, they won. So it's like, see what me and Rico are talking about. We just went through the whole schedules. So you guys,
we got another one too, because this one's really interesting, and this is probably a more fair comparison because this is an undefeated Power 5 champion. Now let's talk about the Pac-12 for a second. The most disrespected conference out of the Power 5 over the past 10 years. They have done absolutely nothing in the playoff. And when I say nothing, I don't even know if they've won a game. They've done nothing in the playoff. Maybe Oregon won a game, got to a championship game against Ohio State. In 2014, they beat Florida State. That's 9 years ago. I don't know if they've done anything since. They've put teams in there and got absolutely shellacked. But this year, because it's the last year of the Pac-12, ESPN just fell in love with the Pac-12. They said the Pac-12 is so amazing. They had this heartfelt story about how it was so sad to see them be disbanded, and the Pac-12 is so amazing. All year long, you heard about how great the Pac-12 was, all this bullshit hype over Colorado because Deion goes there and he wears some cool glasses and gets some recruits there. Now, all of a sudden, we got to hype up the Pac-12 to hype up Colorado, which ended up falling on 4 flat tires because they went 4-8. So all this synthetic hype on the Pac-12. Here are the Washington Huskies, okay? They beat Boise State down. They beat Tulsa down. They beat Michigan State down. Now they get into Pac-12 play. They give up 32 against California, but they score 59, so it's beautiful, right? They're at Arizona. This game was a loss. They got a pick 6 when they were about to be down double digits. They got a pick 6 in this game, which should have been a pass interference. They didn't call it. End up getting out of here with a 1-score win. Here they go against Oregon, get a 3-point win against Oregon, right? Now, here we go again, Arizona State, they get another 1-score win. So this is 3 1-score wins in a row. Only one of the team was ranked. They go play at Stanford. They give up 33 points to Stanford, 42-33. They go play at USC. They give up 42 points to USC. USC can score, but USC ain't good. USC ended up not being ranked either. So 52-42 shootout. Then they play Utah. Utah's okay, still figuring out their quarterback situation. They give up 28. They get a 35-28 win here. So we've got 1-score game, 1-score game, 1-score game, 2-score game, 2-score game, 1-score game. Oregon State, they win by 2, okay? This same Oregon State team got blown out by Oregon. They're okay. They're solid, not bad. Then we get another 1-score game. Washington State's driving to win the game to defeat Washington. They get a holding call, kills the drive. They punt. Penix makes a couple throws, and then they go beat a 6-loss. I don't know if they're 7-loss now. Washington State team by 3. Then they get another 1-score game. So all these 1-score games, all these teams that were recycled and ranked based off I don't know what, ended up with the same 7-5 records as some of these ACC teams that weren't ranked. And this is the strength of Washington Husky. I would love for Florida State to get a shot, Tate Rodemaker, to play this Washington Husky team. I guarantee you we would beat them. Washington did not see a defense anywhere remotely close to what they would see from Florida State all year long. There was no reason to rank this Washington Husky team above Florida State. They didn't move them until 2 weeks ago. And then all of a sudden, when they move them and both teams win, and Florida State, frankly, wins in more convincing fashion defensively because we have a bunch of Southern NFL-bound athletes and we don't give up shit on defense. We win more convincingly and harder places to play against a collectively harder 2 teams than Washington State and Oregon. I would say at Florida and playing Louisville, who was a top 10 team as of a week ago, is a better 2 to finish than Washington State, who's terrible, with one player at quarterback, and Oregon, who's probably overrated. And we won in more dominating fashion by 2 scores both times. Washington wins both these games by a field goal, yet Washington is the sure shot shoe-in. They just got to be in there. That's ESPN propaganda, politically corrupt bullshit. And that's another team that shouldn't be in over Florida State. And here's your schedule. If you don't believe me, check it out.
Yeah, we just went over all of them, and there's a plan to everything these guys do. We've seen it every year with a lot of stuff they do. They propaganded it, put Washington in there, so there's nobody in the West Coast, so they're not really messing with anybody. But you can't put that. Guys got to protect it. Do everything we can do to make sure FSU isn't in there, and but there's not much difference between Washington and FSU. They're both undefeated, both won their conference championship. Really, the only difference is they played Oregon twice. FSU played LSU and Louisville. So, what are we talking about? But why aren't they in the same category? Just as there's not the same measurement, guys. Is what they do. There's a different level of with these guys, and this is why you need to get rid of this stupid committee and this stupid plan. Lay everything out. This is what it is. Teams are there. You could say what team's playing whatever, but you got to have these guys get out of here that they're picking. This is not a playoff. It's a selection. That's what it is. It's not a playoff. A playoff is you have all these teams and they're in there and they battle it out. This is not what that is. It's a selection of 4 teams that they want. It's not 4 teams that deserve to be there. It's the 4 teams they want. They want.
No. And they played with that wording, Mike, all week long.
Yep.
I've looked it up. Florida State is 72, 71, and 6 versus the SEC all time, because that's what this really comes down to. Everybody knows that we would beat Washington. Just cut the bullshit. They know that. We'd beat them with a second string. If we had Jordan Travis, we'd kill that team, right?
Yep.
Everybody knows that. This is really about the SEC. And they keep trying to shun Florida State. We have a winning all-time record versus the SEC. Let's lump Oklahoma into the SEC already, since that's where they're going. We're 5-0 versus the SEC in the last 2 years, including 2 wins over LSU, 1 ass whooping over LSU. Okay, so that's 2 wins over LSU. That's a win over Oklahoma, and 2 wins versus the Gators, who, by the way, had the number 4 pick in the draft, A.R. Richardson, last year. And we went down to the swamp with a backup quarterback this year. 5-0 versus the SEC. 4-0 if you want to be technical. We're throwing Oklahoma in this. That's 5-0. And we get shunned by an SEC team that had a loss and wasn't more spectacular on the season than we were and didn't have half the adversity that we had. It's absolutely bullshit. It's an absolute travesty. A piece of college football died, not because of Florida State, because of what they did to a traditional power that's won for 30, 40 years in the most competitive environments. We play everybody. I don't care if we play in the ACC. We play everybody. We got a home and home schedule with Bama, home and home schedule with Florida. We play Florida with Alabama and Georgia in the future. Play Florida every year. Every other year we go there. Play Miami every year. Every other year we go there. Played LSU the last 2 years. We play everybody all the time. We played USC, played Michigan over the years. We played everybody. And for them to do this to Florida State, it's not about Florida State. To hell with Florida State.
No.
Obviously, that's the attitude, right? To hell with Florida State. It's
Right.
what you did to a college football power that helped uplift your game and uplift your brand. And you're willing to do that to Florida State so that you can jam in a team from the conference that you pay for, that you fund, ESPN, that you sponsor, and you jam a team in there that can't get in there off merit. That's why Bama was ranked number 8, because they weren't there off merit. And they're not there today off merit. They're there because you're embarrassed that the conference that you trump up, that you forced down everyone's throat, wasn't good enough to even get one damn team in. So you jam one in anyway and you screw a deserving team. College football, screw you. You have lost all respect. There is no sanctity. There's no decency about you anymore. And it doesn't even have anything to do with Florida State. I'm pissed because I'm affiliated, former player, got 2 degrees from Florida State. So naturally I'm pissed. I'd be pissed if you did this to Ohio State. You never do it to Ohio State. I'd be pissed if you did this to Florida. You'd never do this to Florida. You would never do this to Oklahoma. You would never do this to any of these other teams. This is all bullshit, and it should be an embarrassment to college football. All the pundits who have supported this, you all walk in shame. Don't ever come to Tallahassee. You're not welcome.
No, you're not. And the other thing is, and the thing we haven't really talked about and bring up as much is they told the nation that the Jordan Travis injury had nothing to do with where they had FSU when they dropped them to 4. They said, we're dropping the 4 because we think Washington is the team. You told the nation that. You lied to the nation. You lied to everyone's face that it did when you knew damn well that's why you dropped them, and you were setting it up for if whoever wins that Alabama-Georgia game. But you lied to everyone. So you can try to convince yourself, but everyone knows what they saw. You lied to everyone right to their face to tell them it wasn't, and it was, because you're using that as an excuse, and it shouldn't even be an excuse. It's one player. That one player does not make a team. You still have to play the game with your full team. FSU has a dominating defense. You guys said the hell with that. We don't care. You still dropped them for no reason. FSU gave you no reason to drop them. There was no reason for you not to have them in the 4. No reason. It's absolutely ridiculous, preposterous, embarrassing. It's an embarrassing. It just happened to happen to FSU, but it's embarrassing for college football that you clowns even have jobs up there, that they're depending on you to make picks and be unbiased, and you guys never are. You have the same thing every time. You're putting the same teams in there. You're forcing the same SEC team. If it's not an SEC team, it's Ohio State or somebody like that. It's never the teams that are rewarding. You're taking bids away, and then you have your teams that you feel threatened by, and FSU certainly falls in that category that you feel threatened by them.
Just going to read this, as sad as it is to read it.
Yeah.
Jordan Travis tweets, devastated, heartbroken, and so much disbelief right now. I wish my leg broke earlier in the season so y'all could see this team as much more than the quarterback. I thought results matter. 13-0, and this roster matches up across any team in those top 4 rankings. I am so sorry. Go Noles. And I know people aren't going to give a shit, and that's going to be sad, and it's going to be dubbed as whining. But that is an example of how selfless this program is, and the leader of this program, and Jordan Travis, is. The kid literally wished that he broke his leg earlier so you could see how good our team was, because there's nobody that we were going to lose to, even with Tate Rodemaker, because that's how good this roster is.
Yep.
And you don't believe me? Wait till the NFL evaluates and see how many of these kids get drafted and how high they go, or what type of pro career they had. This roster does match up with anybody across the board. They do. You find me a better defensive line. Find me a Verse. Find me a Fiske. Find me a Lovett. You guys haven't even seen Darrell Jackson because the coward-ass NCAA won't give him his waiver, but you're about to see him in the Orange Bowl. You find 4 defenders better than that. Farmer, Peyton, Turner. Come on. Find a better linebacker than Deloach. I dare you. Let's see it. Do it. You can't. But these kids don't get to play because ESPN has Fowler, Herb Street, Joey Galloway, and all these assholes that push bullshit narratives to feed ESPN the SEC teams that they want so they can get their little bonus checks for Christmas. So this group doesn't get to play. They don't get to play. But I'll tell you what, they match up across the board with your team. Whoever your favorite team is, they match up with them. I don't give a shit who it is. 1 through 4. Michigan ain't never beat Florida State. Washington would not beat Florida State. They ain't seen that kind of team speed ever. That freaked them out. Texas, you got the same level of athletes. In Texas, you've shown the propensity to lose to anybody over the last 20 years. In Alabama, hey, we're not afraid to play Alabama. We played Alabama toe-to-toe just a few years ago until our quarterback got broke. It was a 1-score game. Nobody's scared of Alabama. We're 72 and 71 and 6 in the SEC. 5-0 against the SEC last 2 years. You take that SEC shit somewhere else. We don't see it. Never have. And you interview or ask anybody who's ever played for Florida State, anybody who's currently on the roster, they'll tell you we'll slap the shit out of any SEC team. See the first game of the year when you brought the Heisman Trophy winner to Orlando. Beat his ass. He didn't throw a touchdown until 4th quarter, 1 minute left. That was your number 5 LSU Tigers. That was the team that Paul Feinbaum said was going to smoke FSU. That's the team that we didn't have a chance. We beat the shit out of them. Beat the shit out of LSU. After we beat the shit out of them last year and fumbled on the goal line to make it look like a game. We were up 2 scores on them the whole game then too. It's just ridiculous. The disrespect for FSU. I don't know how you rally the troops. My heart goes out to Coach Norvell and the staff. Got a locker room full of kids that deserve to play for a playoff, aren't going to get a chance to play for the playoff. Got a bunch of fan bases of sorry-ass teams that can never get good enough to play for a playoff, and they're cheering this on because they want to see a spectacle. They'd rather see Bama versus Michigan as opposed to have a team that deserves to be there like Florida State go there because they think Florida State's offense isn't fun because we've got a backup. That's what this is about now. It's about entertainment and money. It's not about actual sportsmanship. It's not about actually teams competing that deserve to be there, deserve the right to compete. It's not about that anymore because college football's lost its way. We want to talk about sign stealing. Let's talk about players getting paid to play. Let's talk about rapes and guys beating their girlfriends getting covered up. Let's talk about some real things that go on in college football. We don't want to do that though. And we want to pick and choose who we allow into a playoff, lie our ass off, change the narrative, and move the goalposts for 2 months until we finally get the bullshit 4 that we want.
Yep.
Disgusted.
That's exactly what happened. And they just do whatever fits their narrative of what they want. And the narrative all season, we've heard it all year, even before Jordan got hurt, was, well, look at them. They struggled against Boston College. As soon as they struggle against, it's like FSU has to kill everybody, but nobody else has to kill anybody. Like, that's basically how it is. Like,
the thing, I'd have more respect for the committee if they did. I'd have more respect for the committee if they actually stuck to their guns and they said who the 4 best teams are. They only did that when it came to Florida State.
Yep.
What do you think the line would be if Georgia played Washington? Probably +9 for Georgia. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Georgia played Oregon last year, beat the dog shit out of them. Whooped them. It was disgusting. Oregon couldn't even compete.
Nope.
Couldn't even compete. So if we want to do the 4 best teams, let's keep it all the way real. And I wish Kirby Smart would come out and say this. Let's keep it all the way real. Why is Washington in there and not Georgia then?
Yep.
Just put all the 4 best. Michigan's clearly number 1. I've said that for 2 months. On field, the margin of victory, they got 2 wins better than anything Georgia's done all year at Penn State with no coach and beat Ohio State with no coach. No disrespect to Sherrone Moore with no head coach. Sherrone Moore had to step in. Michigan's 1. Nothing to talk about. But if we want to get the 3 next best teams and you think Texas is better than Florida State right now, okay, we can argue that. But why is Georgia not in? Why is Washington in? You want the 4 best teams, right? But all of a sudden, we now Georgia's not one of the 4 best teams, but they were number 1 to start last week, right? So if we want to keep it real and we want to take the deserve out, why the hell is Washington there? Georgia would beat Washington, hands down, right now today. They would beat Washington. Why is Washington there? Because you only reserve 1 feel-good spot for who you kind of like.
Yep.
You're afraid of FSU and you don't like FSU because FSU's been embarrassing your SEC for years, so you want to get them out of the way. And then you want to give Michigan the hardest number 4, right? So you want to give them Bama, so maybe Bama can upset them, when traditionally you've always fed the number 1 seed, the worst team, right? So if you really thought that Florida State was no good, you would put them at 4, right? Because that's what you've always done for the number 1 seed. But your number 1 seed has always been Georgia or it's been Bama. So you've been vested to make sure that they get to the title game. But now that it's Michigan, you want to try to trip them up. You want to send them Bama, and then you want to make them go to Texas to play Texas, right? So you set it up. I see exactly what they're doing. But if it's the 4 best teams, Georgia's absolutely one of the 4 best teams in the country. Would you agree?
Yeah.
What are we doing then? What are we talking about? So it's the best teams until it comes time to put Florida State in. Then we'll leave them out based on the premise that they're not one of the 4 best, but we won't put Georgia in because then that means we have to take out Washington. What a crock of shit. If you want to put the 4 best teams in there, why is Georgia not in? That's what I would ask. Why is Georgia not in?
Well, there's a lot of questions you could ask about these stupid ass committee of the stuff they do. They say one thing and then do another. They say these games matter. And oh, by the way, what conference is Texas going to next year?
SEC, baby. Got to feed them, right? Big money. They're afraid that Texas would take their money and go elsewhere. So they got to feed them. Got to give it to them. Come from the soft Big 12. The Big 12 is dog shit. Has been for years.
Yep.
Dog shit. There's 2 teams in the Big 12. 2 teams. Oklahoma and Texas. And Oklahoma hasn't been good the last 2 years. They got like 9 losses in the last 2 years. And Texas has got, what, 4, 5?
Mm-hmm.
Right? But you got to stuff them in there. But all of a sudden now, Georgia's not one of the top 4 teams. I wish Kirby Smart would keep it real. I wish he would say, Kirby Smart is comfortable. They're coming off 2 titles. He's fat and happy. He knows that team's loaded and they'll be back and they're going to be one of the 12 every single year that he's there. So they're going to get more shots, you know. But I wish he'd keep it real. I wish he'd come out there and say how much of a travesty this is. If you're going to screw Florida State would beat Washington with Tate Rodemaker. I don't care. Michael Penix hasn't seen a defense like that all year. He wouldn't even know what to do. We'd be flying at him. He'd spend his whole day on his back. So if Washington is in, then you did not put the best 4 teams in. You put 3 really good teams and then a team that you liked. You just didn't like Florida State.
Yep, that's it. You nailed it.
I've got nothing else on that, Mike. I'm pretty pissed off. This is not going to go away, and I want to make sure. I was talking to a lot of people about this, including some people very important to me, and I was trying to explain to them the depth and the gravity of this. And when I've spent 32, 33 years of my life being cognitively aware, invested wholeheartedly into college football. I'll tell you what, right now, I have lost all hope for college football, and it's a bond that's been broken because I've seen the absolute depths of what they'll go to get what they want and what they'll do to a program. One of their powers at that, Florida State is a football power, and they sacrificed them to get what they wanted, to go feed ESPN so ESPN could get some money for the relationship with the SEC. And I just can't tell you how disturbed I am to see them do that, to ruin the sanctity and the purity of this sport, to take a 13-0 team that played a top 5 SEC team to start the year, whip their ass, okay, against what all the pundits thought would happen. And that game means nothing to you. Paul Feinbaum said that was the first game. Throw that away. To see them do that, it's just disgusting. SEC, you can go to hell. ESPN, you can go to hell. College football playoff, you can go to hell because you no longer stand for what college football is supposed to stand for.
Nope.
And I tell you what, all these other fan bases, if you are a Miami Hurricane fan or a Florida fan or an Ohio State fan or a Penn State fan or an Oklahoma fan, and you had an undefeated team and this happened to you, you'd be heartbroken too. And I hope that one day you can feel what it's like to be in this position, to feel this level of disgust and anger, because it truly is a unique feeling.
Yeah, you just feel like everything's stolen from you because that's what happened. They got a berth taken away. You could tell, even with Norvell, in that morning clip that we've shown, he felt like this is ours. This is our time. We've done everything perfect that we need to do. It wasn't the best situation because you lost quarterbacks and you lost players and adversity, but you took something from them you just gave it to somebody else, and that's why it's totally gone for anybody having any faith in college sports because of what you guys have done. You've ruined it. You've ruined the sanctimony of just being fair and balanced and everyone having the same rules. This isn't like basketball where you got 64 teams and you just play. You don't have that. You pick 4 teams. It's a selection. It's not a playoff. You guys are selecting 4 teams you want in there, and you're screwing everyone else. And I've seen this go on for 10 to 15 years with these teams. I saw it when FSU won the championship against Auburn in 2013. You tried to do the same thing in that crap. Tried to make everything hard, and you did your propaganda, ESPN. You kept doing stuff like Team of Destiny with Auburn, and it was like, oh, this FSU team, they haven't really beat anybody really good. It's like it was a constant feeding. Then the following year, you had the Jameis Winston stuff. You wouldn't let the guy breathe. All that stuff, like you didn't do that to any other school. So we know what's going on. You're scared, you're panicky of whatever it is about FSU that threatens you, and we know what you're doing, ESPN. You can try to keep convincing people and lying to people, but ESPN, I know what you're doing. I've been in this business a long time. I know what you're doing. Everyone that has common sense is watching. They know what you're doing. I don't want to lump everyone with ESPN. Bugger McFarland, a lot of credit for you. You stood up for the Noles. You stood up for what was right. Several other guys, like EJ Manuel, all the ACC network crew really stood up for FSU. So those are a few exceptions, but for the most part, ESPN, you should be just as embarrassed as this committee because you perpetrated all this crap to build up. Kirk Herbstreit, Chris Fowler, Joey Galloway, all you guys, you perpetrated this for 4 weeks talking about Jordan Travis or something to do with FSU all the time to put it in people's head. Paul Feinbaum, all you guys, you put it in people's heads to like, hey, there's something wrong with FSU. To kind of set that seed, and it's wrong. It's disgusting, and that's not fair and balanced, guys. That's not fair and balanced of where you don't have a selection or a preference in the selection. You do have a preference in the selection committee. That's what you're showing. Every year you've shown that. That's it.
And every year they've had a number 4 team that they cited deserved to be there. I remember Utah deserves to be there.
Yeah.
Cincinnati deserves to be there. Washington, Oregon, they deserve to be there off the merit of the year. But then when it comes to the 13-0 Noles, 2-0 versus the SEC, the mighty SEC, right? The swamp where everybody's afraid to go from the West. Nobody goes down there to play. We go there every other year, by the way. Everybody's afraid to play them there. That's why you don't schedule them. That's why you duck them. We go there every other year. A 1-by-2 scores for the backup. And all of a sudden, it's our turn now to be the deserved team to fight through adversity, and you snub us. You mathematically screw us in a way that doesn't even make sense. 97% chance to make the playoff right when it's getting ready to get announced, and all of a sudden we don't make it. It's complete, utter crap. We beat 8 bowl teams. We beat 2 teams that would run roughshod over the Pac-12, okay, and LSU or Louisville. Put them in the Pac-12. They'd be in Las Vegas. Clemson would definitely compete too. That's 3 teams that would compete, if not win the Pac-12 this year. And LSU would 100% win the Pac-12 this year. But LSU plays the hardest schedule in the country because we're on it, and they play in the SEC West. So they lose 3 games, right? We just get no credit for anything. They make it up as they go. And there's a lot of people that hate Florida State because they are envious and they're scared. There's a lot of Gator fans that are happy right now, a lot of Cane fans that are happy right now. Screw all of you, because one day this is going to happen to you. And it's funny because these programs don't know what it's like to go undefeated. Florida ever, and Miami in 20-something years. So it's easy to forget, I guess. It's the second time we've done it in 10 years.
Yep.
We almost did it twice in a row, save for a loss at Oregon. So I just it's very tough to quantify the feeling right now. I feel like punching somebody in the face. Feel very angry, feel robbed. But most of all, it's for the kids that came back, wanted to play championship football, believed in Coach Novell, believed in Coach Fuller, believed in Coach Atkins, believed in Coach Storms all summer long. The entire staff did everything they were asked, responded to adversity, watched their brother snap his leg on a senior day because he wanted to be out there with his team, had his back, came back, fought through adversity, won rivalry games, 2 straight state titles, ACC title. Nothing's good enough. Anything we did, you would have moved the goalposts. And before we get off, let's also make this clear. Had Oregon beat Washington, you would have screwed them with Oregon too with a loss. It wouldn't have mattered. You'd have screwed them with Oregon. If Georgia would have won, you'd have had Georgia in there at 1, Michigan at 2. You'd have put Oregon. You just still put Texas in there. You would have found a way. You'd have thrown Ohio State in there. You'd have thrown anybody to screw over Florida State because you want to push this narrative that this team can't compete with a backup quarterback. It's complete conjecture. You can't prove it. You have no idea how good this team would be in a month. Of practice with Tate.
Well, and it's mainly just the FSU program in general, what they've done as far as these snubs lately, because it's like, I don't know what it is about the FSU program, but they try to find faults in them when they've done everything right. When they get there, and then I don't understand the infatuation or obsessiveness with FSU, but the committee and people around the country and people in the SEC sure have quite the fascination about FSU when they're good. When FSU's good, they start doing stuff. Maybe that's because FSU's played the SEC and they certainly have a lot of success against them. I don't know whether they're the anti-SEC and they're not afraid of them. I don't know, but it's there. It's what it is. So yeah, it sucks. It's disgusting, and it's a really, really bad day for college football.
And make no mistake, nobody's scared to play Georgia, but let's just cut to the chase and point out the obvious here. The bowl selection committee, whoever makes it, they give FSU to Georgia, right? They say that FSU would not compete in the playoff, but they call FSU versus Georgia a great matchup. Yep. Georgia was just the number 1 team in the playoff for the last 2-3 weeks.
Yep.
So we can compete with Georgia, and that's a great matchup. But we can't compete in the playoff. Bullshit. You pulled that out of your ass. You gave FSU to Georgia because you think Georgia will beat FSU and shut FSU up, and then you can say, I told you so.
Yep.
That's the real reason. Let's just be honest.
Yep.
That's the real reason why FSU is playing Georgia.
And that's the plan. That's the plan all along. You guys do this all the time. You're moving around. Like, you don't let them play Ohio State or somebody else that,
Nope.
hasn't had as good a season as Georgia. You
Nope.
wait, you get the most highest team in Georgia.
Mhm.
You don't let them play Oregon or anybody
Nope.
like that. Got to play Georgia.
Yep.
Team with big guys that go up there and win the line of scrimmage because
It's their top team for the last 2 years,
yeah,
right? And I'm great, and I'm fine with playing them. Like I said, Florida State play anybody anywhere, but don't turn around and snub Florida State from the playoff because they can't compete with the playoff teams. They can't compete with Michigan. They can't compete with Washington. They can't compete with Texas. They can't compete with Alabama, right? But they can compete with Georgia, who hasn't lost in 2 years.
It's nice.
Get out of here. That's disgusting. You should be embarrassed that was even mouthed, and it was mouthed by ESPN's Joey Galloway today. That's going to be a great matchup. But it wouldn't be a great matchup if we played Washington in the Sugar Bowl. We'd beat the hell out of Washington, and they know it. That's why they didn't let us in there.
It's the same thing, rinse and repeat with these guys, ESPN guys. They're like, I outset a few guys that I mentioned. It's the same repetitive morons that do the same peddling every time. They just find new things to peddle around, and it's embarrassing. I feel embarrassed for your families and yourselves, guys, on ESPN. I really do. I feel embarrassed for you.
I don't feel
I'm
embarrassed.
embarrassed.
I want that channel burnt to the ground.
Either you're stupid or you think you're fooling people. So it's one of the other.
They ain't fooling anything. These guys are ignorant. They're in the pockets. This is a coalition. Sports is an extension of politics. It's dirty. It's corrupt. It's disgusting. It's filthy. And it's all fun and games and funny until it happens to you. Yep. Michigan felt this all year when they got scared because Michigan was beating ass too much.
Yep.
Then they come out there with PI firms that are linked to Ohio State, and they go after Harbaugh, and they suspend Harbaugh, and the NCAA comes out and says we have no information that links into this, and they still suspend Harbaugh because they think he would have got tripped up at Penn State. They thought he would get tripped up at Maryland, and they thought for sure the Buckeyes would beat him. None of it happened. Right? It's all fun and games until they come for you, till that coalition comes for you. Yep. And then at the umpteenth hour, it came for Florida State in disgusting fashion. Shame on you. Shame for everybody who applauds it. Shame for everybody. Shame on everybody who applauded it.
Yeah, and if you applaud that, hey, what goes around comes around, because they're going to come up to your team, and guess what? Other people will be there to laugh at you. Because, I mean, you got to call what's out right in college football. You either do it right or you don't. But just remember, we told you, we're telling you right now, if they're willing to do it to FSU, they're willing to do it to your team. They will.
And I will send this warning out too. There is a thing called a transfer portal. The Noles are going to be very active in it. The Noles are also looking at closing on a couple of recruits and possibly having the number one team in the country, number one class in the country. So keep in mind that you just pissed off a college football power, and some of you guys are on the schedule. And we're going to see. We're going to see what the SEC is talking about in the next 3-4 years, because we're going to play a lot of these teams. So keep in mind, you guys may have bit off a little more than you want to chew. And if you think you're bad, Tennessee, anybody in the SEC, hop on the schedule. Come on down. You see what happens to LSU, and you guys ain't even as good as LSU. Come on down. Hop on the schedule. You get something.
I would also say, you thought you had a locked in FSU before this. You wait till the next year, and the next year, and the next year. They're going to remember what you did to them. They're going to remember the actions you did to them. So when these guys aren't respectful to you, I don't want to hear anything. And I don't want to hear anything if they go beat down your team. Don't want to hear anything, because they were treated like a piece of garbage today. And it's disgusting. So, hey, if that's your motion you want to live with and you want to go with, keep the smoke, because what goes around comes around. When you treat people like that, it comes around and goes around. And I just think it's a extremely sad day for just college football in general. Like, I love college football, but this was a very sad day for all teams, because if they could do it to FSU, guys, they're going to do it to your team. I
got a text yesterday right before kickoff from a staff member, and I asked how are we looking, how are we feeling. He said there was hate in our eyes. And we proceeded to go out there and not even give up a touchdown to number 20 offense, number 14 team in the country that was just ranked top 10 with our third string quarterback. Keep underestimating Florida State. Remember, this was a team that was built off being an all-girls school and an erector set of a stadium and grew to be a college football power. Team of the 90s, 54 straight wins at home, 3 national titles, played for 7, 3 Heismans. Keep underestimating Florida State. You have put a fire in the belly of this team, this program, this AD in Alfred. Finally got an AD who's going to step up.
Yep.
And a coach that's just a wonderful human being and a fierce-ass competitor in Coach Norvell. You put a fire in them that is going to cost you, and you will be taxed for years. I'm talking to all of college football. I'm fucking pissed off. I know they are as well. I'm not going to hold my tongue. I think it's absolutely disgusting what college football has done. I have lost faith. It's a completely rogue, politicized entity at this point. The college football playoff needs to be completely dismantled and burnt to the ground because you no longer do the sport justice. You are an SEC feeder where you are trying to over monetize and feed that coalition with ESPN and the SEC. It's disgusting. Everyone sees through it. And just shame on you for ruining a truly tremendous American sport. You have destroyed it all.
Yeah, I mean, you just need somebody to put 12 teams in there and then go. Rake them how you want. But you guys need to be completely dismantled with what you've done. You've done so much reputable harm to the sport. You guys don't even understand how disgusting what you did was. And you just ruined it. So that group needs to be completely fired, every one of them. Not saying that because of what you did to FSU. I'm saying it because this is a pattern for you guys the last 6 years. You've done this. It's crap. What you're doing is not picking the best teams. You're not following a criteria. You're switching the criteria and you're picking who you select, whoever you want. So yeah, this committee is crap. Get rid of it. Get 12 teams. Whoever the top teams that are ranked, put them on the board. That's it.
The AP had Florida State at number 4.
Yep.
Came out this morning.
Yeah, just put your teams, all 12 of your teams, put them on there, and then play. That's it.
But this is what they don't like, Mike, and we'll leave you because we're going long here.
Yeah.
But this is what they don't like. They don't want accountability, that big A word. They don't like accountability, and they don't want anything to be put in black and white. They want to operate in the gray, because what you just did to Florida State is they beat the line in a rivalry game. You guys went down there. You covered it, Herb Street. You saw it. You even said it was impressive. Screw you. You said it was impressive, but you sit there and you take shots at the program. You know the Gators dirty hit Rodemaker to get them out of the game because that's how they play. They're dirty. They're nasty. That's how they always will play. That's the type of program they are. That's what they do. Persevere, still beat their ass by 2 scores, get out of that game. Now we got to play a third string. You bash the program. You say, oh, well, they're not going to be good enough. We go out there and we beat a line. We were supposed to lose by 1. We win by 10. And you still move the goalposts. You don't establish anything that's solid. How the hell do you win 2 weeks in a row, beat the spread, win by 2 scores, and move down? That doesn't make any sense. You don't have a loss. You have a body of work, and your actual last 2 performances are better than the teams that are coming up ahead of you. You're still beating the spread. You've done nothing to move back. It's absolute garbage.
And that's why I say you go by the 2 rankings, the coaches poll, whatever the AP, put them together, throw it on the board. Those teams are playing. That's it. It's simple. Nobody's involved. There's no politics. You're playing who you're playing. You don't have these idiots between these grumpy old dorks in there screwing crap up. Just you have teams playing teams, and you don't have a bias. There's no bias when you just put the teams on the board. It's what makes the NCAA tournament so glorious in basketball. It's where people get so excited about it every year. There's 64 teams. Any team can beat any team if you play good. That's the way it should be. Just play the games. Get your dumbasses out of the way and stop confusing everything. Get out of the way. We don't want your biases. We know you know people. You're obviously doing things to fit your narrative. Stop it. Get out of the way. What you're doing, you're not helping college sports. And we know what you're doing. Stop it. Get out of the way. Make it easy.
Yeah. Well, college football is forever changed. This is a black eye. This is a scar that's never going to go away. I just want to make sure that people understand that it's not like, oh, FSU fans are going to get over it. Screw you. We will never get over this. This is bullshit. You'll never get over this. Never live it down. We'll never not remind you of it. And you better hope that Kirby Smart gets all his players to play and that Georgia wins that game, because you have an asterisk next to whoever wins your playoff, and the Florida State Seminoles will be claiming a national title if they beat Georgia. Guarantee you that. You better hope Georgia comes through. You better send the right referee crew. You better call everything against the Noles. You better make it as hard as possible. You better make sure Florida State doesn't win that game. And I'm sure you will, but you better. You better make sure Florida State does not win that football game.
Yep.
That's all I got. We're out of here.
We're good.